What's up, everybody? Celtic Scarecrow here, back for another video to get those 10s and 20 views. I am recording this video before Game 3 and probably 4, so I'm still rocking the Seattle Mariners hoodie. Hopefully they have not been eliminated and are clawing their way back in the series, forcing games 4 and 5. Not then. Might be the last video you see the Mariners hoodie, and it might be permanent transition to the hockey hoodie. But don't forget to do the things.
Bolin, do the thing.
What thing?
The thing! I never had to tell Julie what thing.
I'm not Julie, okay? Pretend I don't know anything about anything that's happening here.
Like if you like this video, subscribe if you seem to like me, share. Help me grow my channel, that would be nice and awesome. Goal is currently 50 by the end of the year, and this blanket does not want to hide. Stay off camera. There. You can dislike the video for stupid things like that I never edit out, but I do will hold it against you. But it is Saturday. It is time for what is the looks like to be the second to last Otto van Bismarck extra history lesson. Let's get down to it. To defeat the French. And go.
Victorious. 250,000 men had surrendered to them, and the French emperor was their prisoner. It was time to make peace. There was only one problem.
People get greedy. That's the problem.
You see, capturing an emperor sounds great. It sounds like the thing that happens when you win. But when the emperor is the state, and he's also your prisoner, who do you negotiate with? This was the problem Bismarck was facing. Too much winning. He wanted to make peace, but they had won so much that he couldn't figure out who to make peace with. So when the news reached Paris on September 2nd, 1870, one of the remaining generals and a few French statesmen declared themselves the government, which they cleverly named the Government of National Defense. Of course, the emperor was technically still alive and hadn't ever abdicated, which was a complication. Also, they hadn't been elected, so where did their legitimacy come from? Well, everybody basically agreed nowhere. This slapdash government maintained some semblance of control by delivering strong speeches about how France wouldn't give up an inch of territory, to which Bismarck responded, Alsace and Lorraine, please. Negotiations with this...
Yeah, be like, hey, we'll try to keep as much as we can because they kicked the crap out of us and took our leader.
Pseudo-government quickly fell apart. Moltke was pretty stoked. This meant he would get to march on Paris after all. As the Prussians approached the French capital, the Government of National Defense recalled all of France's armed forces from their colonies, their holdings in Italy, and summoned them to the defense of the homeland. Soon they had a formidable force at Paris, at least on paper, and they began to dig in.
Paper tiger!
But Moltke simply surrounded the capital and laid siege to it. One of the main members of the Government of National Defense pieced out via air balloon to see if he could raise an army in Loire. Everybody else stayed put, defenses raised, just waiting for Moltke to try to storm the city. Moltke had no intention of doing something so blindingly wasteful, though. Instead, he planned to simply let Paris starve and wait them out while the rest of Germany's forces patrolled France, crushing
that's actually the best tactic.
Whatever other armies the French put in the field. Bismarck argued that they should shell the city, something that Moltke and the general staff felt was inhumane, against the rules of war, and probably ineffective anyway. But as time wore on, Wilhelm got impatient with the rising costs of this siege and ordered Moltke to listen to Bismarck. There is much debate about how much effect the guns had, and whether it was the shelling or just the starvation that led to surrender, but at last, the government of...
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, in my opinion. God damn, I keep pressing wrong button.
National Defense signed an armistice. During these peace negotiations, the representative of the Government of National Defense pleaded with Bismarck, saying that if Paris acceded to all demands, it would cause a socialist revolution. Bismarck coolly replied, "Then I recommend provoking an uprising now while you still have an army to crush it." Outplayed
That's actually pretty good logic.
at every turn, the government of national defense gave Bismarck basically everything he wanted. He got Alsace and Lorraine with nearly 1,700 villages and towns,
Damn.
adding 1.5 million new souls to the German Empire. He got 5 billion francs in gold to be paid as indemnity, and Prussian troops would be staying in France until that was paid, just
Yeah, good call.
in case some real French government came along and tried to go back on their deal. Oh, and also, Bismarck got a German empire. More specifically, he forced the French to officially acknowledge Wilhelm as Kaiser, or Emperor, of Germany, the last real step in the unification process. Back when the war first started, the southern German states, the last holdouts, had sort of been absorbed into this growing entity which Bismarck had been putting together. During the war, citizens of Baden or Bavaria or Württemberg had fought
Yeah, those are locations.
side by side with Prussians. It had given them a sense of unity and brotherhood that eclipsed their regional differences, made them an army of Germans fighting together. So now, as
Just kind of good thing those arms were edited out, and I have to sneeze. Okay, we're good.
the war wound to a close, after experiencing such a great victory through cooperation, these states all voted to become part of something greater, something called the German Empire. Finally, in a scene full of spectacle and drama, on January 18th, 1871, the leading military commanders declared Wilhelm Kaiser in the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles. And so the glory of war and the pomp and circumstance of imperial dignity played out. Now all that was left was creating a constitution, which Bismarck expedited by convincing the newly formed German Empire to simply adopt most of northern Germany's previous constitution.
Yeah, it kind of would work.
But with one interesting proviso. All ministries were under the office of Chancellor, and the Chancellor could propose legislation or bring things to debate in any of the parliamentary houses. But the chancellorship itself was granted at the direct pleasure of the king. No other body could remove a chancellor or appoint one. Coincidentally, Bismarck just so happened to be the chancellor of Germany. But even with this,
I am going to create a position that no one can destroy. Oh crap! Isn't that the kind of the title that Hitler took over, just to kind of like shut him up before he kind of really took over?
broad power over his newly formed empire, even now that he was finally ascendant in Germany and Europe at large, Bismarck now faced a challenge that he had never truly had to deal with before.
His wife.
The challenge of governing. Most of Bismarck's life had been focused on unification, on expansion, and on foreign policy. He'd never before really had to focus on questions of domestic policy for Germany. A new Germany, one sewn together out of disparate people of different backgrounds and different faiths. And here perhaps would be his greatest challenge, because now he had to ensure the continued meteoric rise of this new German empire, while at the same time fending off the jealousies of Europe's existing great powers, so that they didn't band together and crush this fledgling nation. This Herculean effort would take him the rest of his life, and for all of its difficulties, would be the triumph of his foreign policy and his political philosophy of revolutionary conservatism. But if Bismarck had one great failing, one true tragedy to his life, it would be that he could not envision a world without Bismarck. At least,
Yeah, that's what most megalomaniacs think. You're all going to die if I'm not here.
not until it was far too late. And so all of this effort, all of this work he did to ensure a strong but peaceful future for Germany would wash away in other leaders' hands, feeding directly into the looming catastrophes of 1914. But that's a story for another time. Thanks for watching.
That is it for this episode. It looks like I have... Nope, that was it. That is the end of this saga. I will have to find something new to watch on Saturday mornings. I'm not sure what. Maybe some death battle. I don't know. Maybe I'll check out some more extra history. Maybe oversimplified history. I think I'm going to go oversimplified. or death battle. We're not sure. But that is it. I am off to go edit Friday night's video and these two video, and then start a project for Tuesday video. It's a brand new series that will come out once a year because I'm not made of money and I'm not sponsored to do these stupid things. It's going to be called Jack-O-Lantern Versus. Pretty much, I make goofy, or I think are pretty cool looking jack-o'-lanterns throughout the past couple of years, but they all melt relatively quickly. So I was going to find a actual solution to preserve the jack-o'-lanterns longer. Then my dyslexic ADD brain kicked in and said, well, what if we soaked it in something fun? So once a year, I will make a medium-sized pumpkin, take a medium-sized pumpkin, and soak it in something for 24 hours to see the effects. This year it's going to be Coca-Cola. We know what those things do with pennies. But I have a lot of work to do tonight of the video. So that's it. I'll see you weird people later.